Susan Kaiden. I heard her yelling from my desk. Detective Susan Kaiden? I want to talk to Detective Susan Kaiden. I rolled my eyes. Do you want me to handle it this time? I looked up into the face of my partner, Detective Jose Alvarez. Sure, thanks. The poor woman, thinking that badgering us will help us solve her husband's case faster. I shook my head. Alvarez nodded and got up and walked away. My phone rang. I jumped, startled, then took a breath and answered. I glanced at the caller ID. It's the lab. I fished out my notebook and got ready to take notes during the call. Detective Susan Kaiden? The voice of Jimmy, the lab tech, said. Yeah, Jimmy. What do you have? Hi, Susan. Yeah, it's about that missing persons case. John Reed's. My ears perked up, and I sat upright and grabbed my pen, eager to take notes. What about it? I said, barely containing my excitement. I got the lab results from that unexplained substance you sent me. It's blood, actually. Well, to be precise, a mix of blood. All different blood types, all in various phases of decomposition. The putrefaction is what made the results take so long to get. So you're saying that what was found was a mixture of rotting blood that came from more than one source? At least 4. All blood groups were present and able to be identified. One last thing, we also found the cells of some kind of virus. There wasn't anything on file to help identify it. I sent the CDC a sample and they haven't gotten back to me yet. All right, Jimmy. Good work, and thank you. Ma'am. And then he hung up. I booted up my ancient laptop and looked at my notepad while my computer booted up. A mixture of at least 4 victims' blood, all in various states of decay, meaning different types of murders, possibly? And that's in addition to John's. So we're looking at a possible total of 5 victims. I leaned back in my chair and chewed on my pen. That's a terrible habit, you know. You're bound to end up with a mouthful of ink one day. It's happened before, yeah. I smiled and looked up and saw my partner leaning on his desk. How'd it go? I motioned with my head toward the precinct's entrance. Poorly. Megan isn't happy at the lack of progress in her husband's case. Oh, about that. I filled him in on my phone call from the lab. He was pensive for a moment. 5 victims. Shoot. Are you thinking of a spree killer or serial? The blood is all in various stages of decomposition, so I'm leaning towards a serial killer. A spree killer wouldn't wait in between kills. Alvarez slid into his chair and looked at his computer. He started typing and said, When are you going to upgrade, Kaiden? I waved at my laptop. I don't like new things. I'm an old soul. He chuckled. I've just checked and we've got a problem. What's that? The FBI has already flagged this case. They must have gotten the lab results before we did, so they must have had a keyword triggered in their system. Which implies that this is related to an ongoing case. Which means... I sighed. I know what it meant. It meant that I can expect federal to take over, and this will be another case filed away in the I don't ever get closure file. I frowned, picked up my coffee, and took a sip. It had gone cold, so I stood up and looked for my trash bin. You shouldn't drink that stuff at all hours. Alvarez nodded toward my coffee. He waved over to my trash bin. I looked and saw that it was full of styrofoam cups and paper. Thanks, Mom. I winked and walked away to the break room to dump out my old coffee in the sink. On the way back, I noticed a man in a suit talking to Alvarez. I clenched my jaw. Damn, these fuckers are fast. I slowly walked back to my desk, stalling the inevitable. The suit turned to me and said, Detective Kaiden? I'm here about the John Reed missing persons case. I'll need everything you have. It is now a federal matter. What's your email address? He told me, so I emailed him the case files. Here's everything I have. I have hard copies printed out and tucked away with my notes in my desk somewhere. Just a second. As I leaned over to open my desk drawer, I noticed something odd. The FBI agent's shoes were covered in mud near his pant leg's bottom, like he had walked to the precinct instead of driving, like everyone else. Who would voluntarily walk outside in this weather? Perplexed, I looked up at him. He looked down and frowned at me, and I noticed his eyes. I'm leaning over and had expected a quick glance at my cleavage, as most men, even married men, often look. But he wasn't looking at my breast. He seemed fixated on my neck, like he could take my pulse with his eyes. I shivered and looked back to my desk.